Hello and welcome to Pluribus Unum's Fireside Chats. Not as good as a few hours, but hey, it's something. The episode that some of you have been waiting for, the one that I've been trying to get people to vote in for a million years, is finally here. But before we get into that, a little housekeeping first. First, the EPU health saga continues, because not only have I been sick with something for like a past couple of days, now I apparently have a tooth infection because I have an abscess right underneath the tooth that I got a root canal in earlier in the year. The whole reason I got the root canal was to prevent a infection/abscess. But I got one anyways. Hooray! And I can't take care of it immediately because the dentist that did it don't do weekends, and even then I have to wait until the dentist can figure out a day to squeeze me in. So it might not even be the day of, because when I checked for appointments, the appointments were literally like in 2 weeks. Hopefully I can find a way to weasel my way into, at the very least, getting one in the week that this episode comes out. And now I'm going to be super paranoid about potentially getting any of the complications that could come from it, which I of course have to read a lot about because of the previous time that I had these worries with the immediate aftermath of the root canal, or like the immediate before of the root canal. And hopefully I can use the amount of money in my bank to pay off whatever they give me for a bill. If not, I will be in more medical debt. Hooray! Speaking of things to hooray about, thanks for the support that the Socialist Workers' Party video got. Getting like over 100 views in one day. That's pretty based. And with all of that out of the way, let's get right into the news. First, Argentina's election just happened, and Javier Milei sadly won. It was expected, for the most part, it was basically expected that Milei would probably win, but there was like some last minute hope that Massa could pull it off. But it was foolish of me to think so. Like that's the thing. Massa was one of the candidates that unfortunately, it was like basically the reverse of the Brazilian election, because Massa had reached his peak. He only got 2 million more votes than he did in the first round. Meanwhile, I also made the sad assumption that some of Bullrich's supporters might shift to Massa, which, while there is technically no evidence to say that they didn't, if we were to go purely by numbers, it would be safe to assume that, at the very least, a majority of Bullrich's supporters went to Milei, because he got 6 million more votes than he did in the first round, which is right around the amount that Bullrich got in the first round. And a lot of people are naturally a bit panicked, trying to see, like, what does this mean? For the first thing I want to do is disprove something that I've been seeing a lot in the immediate aftermath of the win. Basically, I've been seeing this meme that's been spread around by this stupid, like, Globe Twitter that got also reposted by Socialism Done Left, where it was basically like a joke about bricks, where it's like, like you walk into a room and you see a leftist, you see a genocidal dictator, you see people who hate each other, and anarcho-capitalists. Oh shit, I walked into bricks. And then it's like, I replied in both of those replies, like, you guys are stupid. Milei doesn't want to join BRICS. And then some people go like, well, actually, Argentina already decided to join BRICS, so Milei can't do anything about it, so he's in BRICS now. It's like, he can leave. There's nothing that says that he can't leave BRICS, which is what he's going to do. And all of the wikis basically like edited to reflect the fact that Argentina will probably not be joining BRICS. And then there's also been one glaring issue. What will Milei do now? Because Milei's whole purpose was that he was going to run in, dismantle basically the entire government of Argentina, dollarize the economy, and do all this big things to make Argentina basically sellouts to America. But the thing is, while that's ideally in his mind, like, what's going to happen? Like, what is actually going to happen? Because when you go into the Congress, that's where things are going to get a bit more complicated. Because of the seats that were up for election, La Libertad Avanza only won 35 seats in the most recent election. So it's not like he can overwhelmingly decide to do a lot of his policies. He's going to have to work with other parties. And the most likely scenario is that he's just going to work with the Juntos El Cambio and just push for austerity programs, probably to the right of Macri, but otherwise will be basically normal center-right politics. Speaking of disappointing election losses, we have one coming from the Netherlands. The far-right politician, Geer Wilders, managed to make his party win in the Netherlands. The anti-Islam, Eurosceptic, anti-immigrant Geert Wilders is the surprise winner of the Dutch election, winning 20 more seats in this election, 37 in total, with their closest opposition being the Green Links and Labour Party coalition. Yeah, they sort of formed like a little bit of a coalition to stand a chance, but unfortunately it didn't pan out. And from what people have been seeing, it seems that the younger voters overwhelmingly voted for further right parties in this election. However, the biggest losers were the center-right, because the main center-right parties all in total lost 35 seats, which is very bad for them. But much like Argentina, there's a little bit of wiggle room to figure out like what the heck happens next. Because in the Netherlands, you need 76 seats for a majority. So it's like, okay, how are you going to form a coalition with this? The first big issue was that the main center-right party, the VVD, already denied the PVV the chance of being in a coalition. PVV has 37, and the only party that I see as of yet, the NSC, that is actually offered to join a coalition, which adds 20 seats to the total, bringing it to 57. And Geert Wilders has basically said that his plan is to have the PVV, the NSC, the VVD, and the BBB as their coalition partners. The BBB is this newer party that just popped in out of nowhere that became somewhat prominent in the most recent elections, before this, local elections, which would make him reach the threshold, at least having 88 seats, which is way over the threshold. But the problem is, the VVD has stated that they don't want a coalition with him. They would basically say, they basically cuck themselves by saying that they would basically support his legislation and maybe be an outside partner, but they would not join a coalition. If that coalition doesn't work, there is the idea that there would be a broad tent coalition, which would be led by the Greens/Labour, which would also have the VVD, the NSC, and more than likely the D66, because that's the only party that would be able to get them over the threshold. But the exact specifics of that coalition would probably be too much to negotiate. There was also the idea that maybe the NSC and the VVD could form a centrist coalition with some other party on the center, but that's very unlikely as well. The only scenario that can really be seen is that this might actually go into another snap election, because they really can't find out a way for any of these coalitions to work. But that's bad news from foreign. Why don't we transition to some good news about foreign events? First, South African lawmakers voted in favor of closing Israel's embassy and cutting diplomatic ties. A majority of South African lawmakers on Tuesday voted in favor of a motion calling for the closure of the Israeli embassy and the cutting of diplomatic ties until Israel agrees to a ceasefire in Gaza. This was a very overwhelming vote, with 248 voting to do this, and 91 lawmakers opposing it. What I find interesting is that the number isn't necessarily even the full membership of the multi-party charter. The multi-party charter, i.e. the anti-black party in South Africa, or the anti-black voting bloc in South Africa, has 112 members, meaning that there has to be at least some of them that also voted to do this. Now, what I find interesting is basically the fact that this was still a thing in South Africa was a bit interesting, because, surprisingly, South Africa is not necessarily fans of Israel. A country well known for their apartheid state isn't a fan of a country with an apartheid state? Color me shocked. Now, when I was looking into this to figure out the full situation, it was basically the situation with South Africa and Israel was already pretty tense after the apartheid state ended. So basically, South Africa had basically been leaning away from Israel for years, and this is just them finally breaking ties with them. For a long while, they did not have an ambassador to Israel because of their strained relationships, there was no, anything really to indicate that they had a relationship with Israel outside of maybe some very vague thing that was written long ago that nobody bothered to update. And this is just South Africa basically saying, yeah, screw it, we're done. We don't really care anymore. Oh yeah, and one thing that'll make this interesting is that this particular motion was chaired by the Economic Freedom Fighters, which, if you don't know, is the party in South Africa that's steadily taking a rise, which has basically been known to a lot of people on the left as basically a lot of people in the West, as the quote-unquote Kill Whitey party, and this is inevitably just going to raise their profile even more. Speaking of raising profiles, oh boy, somebody really fucked up because turns out they accidentally raised 2 profiles when they wanted to destroy profiles. Okay, so basically, this is going to be about the recent deal that was revealed in Michigan that was trying to happen. So, for those who don't know about the situation, I'll explain it in full detail. In the state of Michigan in 2024, you can vote for your House members, but you can also vote for a Senate seat, the one that is just opened up. There are quite a few candidates in the race. The 2 that are most notable at the moment are Elisa Slotkin and Hill Harper. Hill Harper is an actor who is running as the progressive candidate. Meanwhile, Elisa Slotkin is considered the right-wing Democrat candidate. While the race is still seen to be heavily in Elisa Slotkin's favor, there's a little bit of worry because Harper has been getting somewhat notable. Also in Michigan, there is a particular Democratic lawmaker that a lot of people in the Democratic establishment, mostly ones that are in favor of Israel, are not a fan of. Rashida Tlaib. So one donor who was affiliated with AIPAC named Lyndon Nelson went to Hill Harper and said, hey, buddy, I will give you $20 million if you suspend your Senate bid and run in Rashida Tlaib's district. A thing that literally just happened in a different state, Missouri, where a person was running for Senate, was like, oh, I'm the one person that can win the Senate, then magically suspends their bid and decides, instead of running in the Senate seat, I'm going to run against this squad member for no particular reason. Now, Hill Harper actually said no. As I said, this deal happened in October and it's only being revealed now. And what's interesting is the fact that this isn't even the first deal to happen in this state, in this district, because they tried to do the same thing with Adam Hollier, who is in a neighboring district, who also turned down the ability to run against Rashida Tlaib because he wants to run against Shadi Thanadar. Now, this puts Hill Harper in the immediately 100% super based category, because this would have been the fucking easiest thing. Like, Hill Harper, he could have easily beaten Rashida Tlaib, let's be real. But he's not going to do that. He's going to run in the Senate seat. And there's probably a similar, this necessarily isn't necessarily, I guess this specific one is specifically targeting Rashida Tlaib for her Palestinian stance, even though it would be later revealed that his stance on Palestine isn't that much different than Rashida's. He openly calling for a ceasefire, though I think his stance is a little bit more, pro-Israel, because it's because when the attack first happened, he gave a vague thing where it's oh, I stand with Israel, I don't think he said I stand with Israel, but it was I support people on both sides or whatever. Now, this shows a lot of things. It shows how blatant, pro-Israel lobbying is in the, Senate and House areas. But it also shows how the establishment is kind of admitting defeat in a lot of regards. Now, what are they admitting defeat by? Now, let's think about it. They, the Democratic establishment, just try to get, someone in the Democratic establishment, not the Democratic establishment itself, but, someone in the Democratic establishment tried to get pro-Medicare for all Rashida Tlaib kicked out of the House and replaced with pro-Medicare for all Hill Harper. Much in the same way that we're getting a ton of people who are, the thing, it's why I wanted to dedicate an episode with the pro-Israel progressive. It's kind of becoming a thing now. Richie Torres actually managed to kickstart something very tragic. I guess if we're gonna go on tragic, let's talk about the main subject of this video, the Pluribus Unum Awards. Now, for those who don't know why I'm doing the Pluribus Unum Awards, it's because the Pluribus Unum Awards was a thing that I made in response to the fact that Humanist Report and TYT decided to also have award shows, and I was like, I can do that too. So I decided to try and do that. The problem was, I did it in my first year of doing YouTube, and I didn't amass that much of an audience to really build that and make it a yearly thing. So I decided to hold off on that, and maybe I would do one again in the future. And here's how much it shows. In the original one, I had got 3 votes in total. Thankfully, this one, it changed. I got 8 votes. Very interesting that after 5 years and over 900 subscribers, I still can't get enough people to do responses to these things when I ask people things. A bit depressing, but, whatever. It is what it is. For the EPU Awards, we had a couple of questions. The questions were the best explicitly party history video, the best thoughts on episode, the best politics and media episode, the best Black History Month video, the best political ideology video, the best Who Is video, the best My Problem With video, the best episode of the EPU Files, the best foreign election podcast, the best Thinky podcast, the best user I collaborated with, the best interview guest, the MVP of the year, the worst politician of the year, the best non-traditional EPU content, and also what videos did I make that were just objectively the worst or the best in your opinion. Then I asked 2 questions where it was like, just give a general random video that you liked that doesn't really fit, and then just random people, and I just gave a random part where I was less like, hey, feel free to type anything else regarding my channel that you think. Basically a section where I'm just like, hey guys, suck me off. And let me read some of those. So first, here are just some of them just made general things like, good channel, unsure, keep up with the good work. I have nothing to say except keep up the good work. Your hard work is noticeable, hope your channel grows. More third-party videos, maybe international third parties, ? I love your informational videos, but please buy a better microphone. I would, but I'm in medical debt and nobody gives me my Patreon, so... And the first one that was put on here is, even though I'm a strongly MAGA Christian conservative, you've been my favorite podcast ever. I'll always remember the little spats I had with you in the comments. Your show made long nights in the mountains very exciting. 3 thumbs up. Alright, so let's just get into the actual things. So the first question was, what was the best explicitly party history video? Now, the reason why I said explicitly party history video is because I kind of wanted this segment to purely be about, like, the history of the American political parties thing. Like, history of the Reform Party, history of the Libertarian Party, history of the Socialist Party, those kind of stuff. The history of the Socialist Workers' Party. While there's some other videos that I put in there that are kind of, like, in the playlist of party history videos, they don't necessarily fit as, like, purely party history, but it's like, I put them in anyways, and some people voted for those ones, but the overall winner, which is not all surprising, was the Communist Party USA video, with the Prohibition, Socialist Labor, Solidarity, 10 Party, and Party Switch videos being tied for second. Genuinely not surprising that that video is the one that wins. It's the biggest party history video thus far, so... and I think it probably will stay that way. I mean, genuinely, I don't think any other party could top it. That one was already one of my favorites, but I think this kind of solidifies just the fact that it is the best one thus far. The next one is the best thoughts on episode. Now, this one, nobody gets it because it is a multi-person tie. J-Reg, Tucker Carlson, Dylan Burns, Bannon Panetta, Vosh, Second Thought, and Revolutionary Blackout Network. Unfortunately, one of you spoiled your ballot and put Marianne Williamson. I did not do a Thoughts On episode on Marianne Williamson. I made a video where I broke down why I wouldn't support her campaign, but it is not a Thoughts On. How am I going to break the tie? Well, by doing a Wheel Decide. Alright, here we go. Vosh wins! Yeah! Back to podcast view. Alright, so the next one is a politics and media one. This one, I genuinely did not really know which one would win, because the first thing I need to say is, like, of course, like, if you know, I've said this before, like, every politics and media isn't necessarily the same. So I was genuinely like, okay, this might be interesting. Well, sure enough, not all of these are the same, and a lot of people were interested in all of them, but the one that ended up winning with 2 votes, as opposed to the rest of them that only got 1 vote, is the Plot Against America episode. Not necessarily surprised that that one ended up winning. I would have suspected the Squirrel and Hedgehog episode to be a contender, but it didn't get any votes. And the Star Wars prequels one only got 1 vote, which I was a little bit shocked at, but you know, it is what it is. The next one is the Black History Month videos. Similarly, this one is also an interesting category, especially with the introduction of the politics and media, which is a bit surprising considering none of the Black politics and media episodes got nominated by anybody. But the overall winner was the Congressional Black Caucus episode, with second place being PBS Pinchback. Why him of all of the people included? I don't know. I guess people really liked his story the best. I'm still a little genuinely surprised that neither of the politics and media episodes that were Black History Month related were nominated. Sweet Sweetback's Badass Song versus Judas and the Black Messiah, I thought one of them would be nominated at the very least. Either way, that's neither here nor there. Next is the Best Political Ideology video. Now, this one, I was a little bit wondering, like, which one would win? Like, I genuinely wanted to know which one would win. Because my political ideology videos, they're the ones that kind of teeter on, like, whether or not they're good or not. Because, like, back in the early days, they were basically supposed to be filler episodes for me to get into the ones I actually wanted to make. Which is why, for a little bit, they kind of disappeared altogether. June 10th, 2021 and September 29th, 2022, those were the dates in between 2 episodes of the political ideology videos. Because after the Fusionism video, I genuinely was just like, and these videos are just not up to snuff. Like again, they were made to be filler episodes, but I just really didn't feel like the passion to make more of these filler episodes. So it wasn't until I had to come back and and even the video that came out at that point, I had to basically rewrite and revamp specifically so I could get it right, because that video was old idea. And I only talked about it so I could kind of tease it for the podcast that was released that same week, where it was the following week. And that's why the 2 most recent political ideology videos go over multiple ideologies and sort of go over the idea of the ideology in general. With the liberalism video, I like that one because it sort of goes over how the term liberal has sort of evolved over the time periods. And the Chavismo versus Bolivarianism versus socialism in the 21st century video, I like that one because it sort of deals with a similar topic, with those 3 ideologies being very remarkably similar, but also shows the differences. Either way, that one didn't win. That ended up getting second place. The one that ended up winning was the video I did on third positionism, which is a good episode, yes, but like I said, I had to revamp that to get it to how I wanted it to be. And I had to time it to what it could come out of the... I think that's one of the reasons why it did so well, because of the timing. Because I released the Jackson Hinkle podcast and this episode in a time frame where MAGA communism / Jackson Hinkle and LaRoucheism was literally at the peak of coming back. And it was this was the perfect time for me to release this. And I think this video also kind of helps people understand really what happened. How did certain things end up coming? Why is MAGA communism a thing on the internet that people actually take seriously? And then this can kind of explain why, and why the LaRoucheites have come back into the fray. Anyways, next thing, the Best Who Is video. Now, this one is a little surprising. Not necessarily that surprising because of the quality of the content that has gotten better over the years, but a little bit surprising on which person they ended up choosing as a representative. Because if I had to choose, I would have probably chosen the William Jennings Bryan episode. Because Bryan, for some reason, isn't talked about as much online. I guess the people are he's in the history book, so I guess he's not worth talking about. But no, He is worth talking about. But the person that they ended up choosing was David McReynolds to be the best who is. Again, I guess it's just generally because video good, I guess. One thing I think I did actually add to the video that really did make it good was a lot of the photos that I used in the video. Because I don't know if a lot of you know this. A lot of those photos that I had in that video are from David McReynolds, because David McReynolds was a photographer in his spare time. So I literally went to his website to use his photos in the video about him, which is, I guess, good. These are the photos that he chose to represent himself on his website, so it's like, I guess these are good pictures to use in here. My problem with. Now, first of all, I'm just going to mention this. The fact that Foro de Sao Paulo has a vote is a little surprising to me, but the winner is not really that surprising. Like, the one that won out is the one episode I did on the Green Party, which, yeah, pretty fair. A organization that I gave some sort of tepid support for at some point, you know, I guess it's good to give, like, all the issues that I had with them. Every other one ended up getting, like, one vote. Now, this next one is the best episode of the EPU files. Now, this one, I think a lot of people might have some questions, like, why were some questions, like, drop downs, or like you had the option but like other ones you couldn't? It was because I was planning to make more episodes of certain episodes, like of certain series. Like the reason why I didn't have the party history videos as a drop down menu or as a like multiple choice question was literally because in the time period that I was going to have the episode come out, the Socialist Workers Party video was going to come out. I didn't know if anybody would choose the Socialist Workers Party video, but it was because if I had to get if it would be fair, I would have to have all of them there. So I'd have to spoil that there would be a Socialist Workers Party video coming soon. But with this one, there was no ifs, ands, or buts. Like, I could just post all the ones because there wasn't going to be an EPU episode released in that time period. So anyway, speaking of, the 5 options were very simple. 4 politicians killed on camera, aliens are a CIA cover-up, politician who murdered his opponent, who is Bud Dwyer, and the things that you didn't know about Jim Jones. Now first, big disappointment in one regard. The fact that 4 politicians killed on camera got a single vote. Who did that? Tell me who did that now. That video is a gosh darn atrocity. It's a video that could have been saved if it wasn't for crappy editing. Heck, that video should probably get a Redux. Of all the videos to get a freaking Redux, that one should be the one to get a Redux. And in that same vein, the aliens are a CIA cover-up not getting a single vote is... I mean, it's not necessarily... No, you know what? I'll say it is a little surprising to me. Because I actually did like that one. I did like that one a lot. Genuinely. Is it my favorite of the series? Maybe? I don't know. Because aside from the 4 politicians killed on camera, the other 4 are really good. No, I guess I have to say my favorite one is probably the Bud Dwyer one. The only thing I don't like about the Bud Dwyer one is that I have to age restrict it because I can't be safe knowing that, because if I age restrict it right now, it could possibly get taken down right now because I uploaded many different versions and YouTube is not consistent with the versions that they want to take down or leave up. But the overwhelming winner, with half of the votes being cast for this video alone, the politician who murdered his opponent. I'd have to say, interesting story, slightly clickbait thumbnail, but it's not clickbait because it's real. Next segment, which foreign election podcast is your favorite? Now, the first one, someone said yours. Okay, I meant like the specific podcast I did. First off, Pluribus Unum Phantom L. No Mexican elections made it to the Ellen. Cringe sad. Next thing that's cringe sad, no Brazilian election. Not the one where I basically predicted the results of the election a day before the election happened. And not the one where I spent like a year preparing. I literally took my logo and cut off one of his fingers for you all to make the episode more impactful. I gotta say, with the foreign election ones, there's like a lot of a mixed bag with them. Like some of them are really good, some of them are really bad. And it's just like, eh. Like for example, the Honduras election video, it's like, that one's fine, I guess. But I kind of was just like, it was like, If it was released a little later in the year, then maybe it would have been more impactful because by then Xiomara Castro had shot up in the polls. I like the Chilean one, the South Korean one, the French one. Like, basically, I guess it's easier to just go over the ones that I don't like. The Canadian election one's pretty boring, I guess. Japanese one, it's not necessarily boring, but it's not necessarily one up to snuff. I guess aside from the fact that the Paraguay one was kind of boring, I actually genuinely like a lot of them. It's basically one of the few ones where it's like almost every episode is a W for me. Oh yeah, I should mention, like, even though I said Japan was one of the lower ones, because that one I literally did make, literally specifically so I could, like, go on vacation, and yet that episode did get a vote. Freaking weeb. Anyways, the one that ended up winning is a bit surprising. The Nigerian election ended up winning, getting 2 votes, while the rest of the ones got 1 vote. I guess the only scenario that I could think of to why the Nigerian election won was because every other place that I've talked about, like, literally, look at the foreign election ones. Brazil, everybody talked about Brazil. Everybody talked about Canada. Everybody talked about Bolivia. A lot of people talk about Mexico. A lot of people talk about Nicaragua. A lot of people love Japan, Chile, South Korea, France, Colombia, Italy, Israel. Actually, scratch that. But a lot of people know a lot about these other countries. But I don't see a lot of people talking about Nigeria. There are very few people who talk about the Nigerian political situation. So I guess people were just like, I'm clamoring for information about Nigeria. So any information on it was helpful. The next one is also a series that I think kind of has a lot of W's. The best Thinky episodes. Now, for those of you who don't know what a Thinky episode is, a Thinky episode, I literally don't even know why that is the actual name of the series. It's basically an episode where I think of a topic and then kind of go off on it. So basically, like, literally, basically it could be anything. It's basically whatever I classify as a Thinky episode is a Thinky episode. You know, like, I pose myself a question or a topic idea, and then I talk about it. There's the What If the U.S. Had a 10-Party System episode, Why I'm Not a Socialist Yet, Systemic Racism episode, What Do We Do Now, which was after Joe Biden won, What Should the Left Strategy Be, When Should We Cancel Our Elected Officials, one episode I talked about the fabled populist alliance, censorship debate, when should we cancel progressive groups, why does the left keep killing itself, why do political debates suck, why we need a new left tube, #RoadTube, anti-Semitism on the left, should we read theory, my problems with political streamers, which was the precursor, I guess, to my problems with, should the left be more patriotic, why I'm not an anarchist, not everyone you hate is a Fed, the copyright episode, a guide to romance on LeftTube, the left's right-wing infiltration problem, why I don't support Mary in 2024, left and right are not outdated, the ethics of AI. So I just listed all of the episodes of the Thinky episode series, and genuinely, a lot of good bangers, because that's just the one where I just decided to just go all in on a topic, and it's pretty good. Since there were a lot of bangers, I didn't know what would win. However, apparently the winner was the first time I did anything of this, because the first one was the 10-Party System United States episode. I think it might have more to do with the fact that the sequel/remake of that episode is way better than the initial one, but there were a lot of people that did genuinely like that idea of a multi-party system, and I guess they wanted to know how I would think a multi-party system worked. And I will admit, I mean, not necessarily everything I said in that episode was wrong, except for the fact that I included the Yang Party, which some people would say is actually not really that inaccurate considering I predicted the Yang Party, but, you know, genuinely I was, and the rest of the people's choices were not that bad. Ethics of AI, that was a pretty good episode. Anti-Semitism on the left, I thought that was a pretty interesting idea. What should the left strategy be? Okay, that one was a little weird, because, I mean, I guess technically the idea of the episode is good. The patriotic left episode, the copyright episode, I don't see, if I had to choose, that would be the winner, because I knew a shit ton about copyright for a long period of time, and it was I was looking for the excuse to talk about copyrights. And also a hot take, but it's probably not a hot take, it's probably just the truth. The reason why the Marianne Williamson episode didn't win is because I guarantee you a lot of you are probably voting for Marianne Williamson. So anyways, the next one is I basically included a bunch of users that I collaborated with and said which one of these guys is the best. And a collaboration can be anything. Basically, it could be them doing a voice for me doing a voice for them, a full-on stream collab, or whatever else. So I included a ton of people, 3 of which I absolutely hate with every fiber of my being. Quisqueno/Inkaino, William Pounds, and the Hill of Roses, for various different reasons. William Pounds is a fascist, Hill of Roses is a liberal, and Quisqueno hates history. Anyways, shock of all shocks, the winner was Mr. Beat. I'm sure Niall Elcom would have a fighting chance if any of the episodes that we did with each other were still up. Same goes with the Pluribus Project. Anyways, next, who was the best interview guest? Remember, I did interviews at one point in my history, so I basically just asked, of the 4 people I interviewed, who was the best one? It comes as no shock. John Wolfe Jr. ended up winning. One shock is that Sydenham didn't even get in the first round, because for these ones it was a ranked choice voting system. I honestly am surprised that Hector got even one person who chose him in the first round. Anyways, the next one was a abstract one where I went MVP Politician of the Year, where I took a couple of politicians who I felt were good MVPs for progressive or leftist whatevers. For whatever reason, I just felt that these politicians should have been shouted out at some point by somebody. And the ones that I chose were Andre Carson, because of his actual good stance on the Israel-Palestine situation, despite the fact that he's a New Dem. Peter Obi, for basically being the shining hope for Nigeria. Cori Bush and Rashid Tlaib for their advocacy for leftist issues, particularly Palestine. Brandon Johnson for his massive W in the Chicago election that happened at the beginning of the year. There's Claudia Sheinbaum for her taking the Morena nomination. Barbara Lee for her stance on like this and being basically the sole progressive voice for the Senate. Aside from the other people, but like she's been like the leading Senate progressive idea for the upcoming elections. Ayman Odeh for his stance on the Israel-Palestine situation and actually being an Israeli politician, standing up for the Palestinians being a plus. And for representing Guatemala, I included both Bernardo Arevalo and Thelma Cabrera. Look, technically Bernardo Arevalo is the one who's been the MVP for this year, but I honestly could not include any mention of Guatemala without mentioning Thelma Cabrera because of the situation that went down with her. And, not really that surprising who won. The winner was Cori Bush in the first round. I guess it's slightly surprising that it was Cori and not, say, Rashida, but, both of them were there for the same reason, so I don't really see any reason why she wouldn't win. Okay, so next one, I decided to do the antithesis and do worst politician of the year. We had Sandra Torres for basically doing all of the shenanigans to almost do a coup in Guatemala that is still potentially going to happen. Joe Biden, for the sake of having Joe Biden on the list, and also because the whole Palestinian genocide thing. Marcelo Ebrard for pulling a Donald Trump and trying to supersede the election of Claudia Sheinbaum as the Morena nominee. Bola Tinubu for flat out rigging the election in favor of himself. Joshua Gothmeier for the fact that he hates Muslims. Ron DeSantis, because I couldn't include anybody without including Ron DeSantis because of him being super stupid. Richie Torres for the fact that he is Israel's biggest simp. Javier Milei, due to the fact that he's Javier Milei. Donald Trump, due to the fact that he's Donald Trump. And for the hell of it, I decided to throw in Benjamin Netanyahu for no particular reason whatsoever. Wait, what? He won by an overwhelming margin? The only person who didn't vote for him voted for Marcelo Ebrard? Jeez, I don't know why Benjamin Netanyahu, of all the people here, would have won. Oh my goodness, I can't believe that you all think Benjamin Netanyahu is the worst politician of the year. Oh my goodness. I must have like a ton of anti-Semites in my audience, apparently, because there is absolutely no way in hell that you could ever see Benjamin Netanyahu as the worst person of the year, ever. Disgraceful. Yeah, not at all surprising. The fact that I included him as an option should have been like the dead giveaway. The next one I did was which quote-unquote non-traditional EPU content of mine did you like the most? Basically, for this, it was basically anything that doesn't necessarily like fit with the EPU style of videos. And for this one, I included a lot of things. I included my pre-Pluribus Unum career, the X rating video, the ultimate theory of ultimate tendencies, and I guess there's no point in hiding it. Last segment was Silhouettes of the Past, the storyline that I have been doing for the entirety of the 2023 year. There's a good chance this is the first time any of you are hearing, like, wait, what? Pluribus Unum storyline? What the fuck is this? Go watch all of the main series episodes of this year, and make sure to watch till the end, especially for this year's politics and media episodes. Or if you're subbing on Patreon, I have a storyline segment up to that point, and I will be uploading like the full storyline in like whole at that point up. Like when the next episode comes out, I will release a video where it's like a segment where it shows like all the storyline segments up to that point to like lead up to the big epic finale that will be coming soon. Now, the first thing I knew off the bat that pre-EPU career was not going to win. In fact, I think there's a lot of you who probably don't even know about the pre-EPU career, which ties into the Silhouettes of the Past. But the fact of the matter is, neither of those ended up winning. What ended up winning instead was the ultimate theory of all multiple tendencies. Not necessarily that surprising, but, you know, whatever. I would have liked for Silhouettes of the Past to have a higher rating, but, you know, I didn't do it for you. I did it for me. Now, the last two things, worst video and best video, I'm actually not going to say those yet. I'm actually going to say, tell me a video you love that doesn't fit into any of these questions first. Because that one's a bit more of an opinionated one, while the other two are like more definitive things. Okay, so first, some of you were not really that helpful in this one. One person said, I don't think such a video. Two people said, unsure. One person said they liked my Q&As, which is technically cheating because that's multiple episodes. Same with the duology of Socialist Party of America and its sequel. Those are cheating. Those are 2 episodes. I said a video. One person said they really liked the Roseanne Barr election video. Bit surprising. One person said they liked the South Carolina election episode with Alvin Green. And one person said that they liked my reaction to Bad Empanada's reaction to my video on Bad Empanada. Genuinely, I love that episode too. Like, I mean, it's not one of my favorite videos because, again, it was just like a short, sweet reaction video. But I genuinely I just like that anybody who made the thoughts on actually watched a video that I did on them. He wasn't the first one, but he was definitely the one that made a reaction video. Like, I was ready for Mr. Dapperton to make a video about me. But no, he just crawls into my comment section or whatever because he has literally nothing better to do. And like, I got a massive bump in subs and like stuff to my YouTube channel, so it's like, yeah, hot money. Now I need to get one of those bigger channels to like watch me. I was trying to get on Vosh, and Vosh don't want me on his show, so I need him to watch my episode on him so he can point and laugh at me. Guys, this is 4D chess. Look, if Vosh watches my video on him and hates me, I have a fan base. If he watches my video and loves me, I have a fan base. The same thing happened with Bad Empanada. Like, people will see I have beef. Like, if anybody wants to find anything about me, they'll find I have quote-unquote beef with Bad Empanada, and then they'll go, so this guy must be good. And guys, think about it. I'm a meme in the Bad Empanada community. Literally, I watched the Deprogram episode where Banana Banana was on it, and literally every single comment in the video was literally saying, like, vaguely ethnic, vaguely ethnic, vaguely ethnic. It's like, guys, it's me. I'm the one who said that. Yes. Anyways, now let's change things from happy to sad, because we have to talk about these two ones. First, what video of mine is the worst? Now, the thing about this one is, the reason why I asked this question is because I'm trying to think of an idea for a feature video, and I wanted some audience input on what episodes to include in a potential, like, top 10 worst Pluribus Unum episodes, and fortunately, none of these were helpful. 2 of them said non-applicable, thank you. 1 person said all your videos from your old channel, thank you, but that's also not helpful. 1 said the episode about that atheist guy, so the Amazing Atheist episode. I honestly thought that thoughts on was alright. It wasn't that good, but I've had worse thoughts on episodes. 1 person said the social democracy episode. 1 person said the Christian democracy episode. 1 person said the Why I'm Not a Socialist Yet episode. And 1 person went so far as to say that podcasts generally are the worst. Wow. I put in all this effort for this freaking show, and you guys can't even appreciate it. Ugh. But, yeah, I'll take those into consideration when I'm making that video. Now, the last one is one that I guess is supposed to be the finale one. Which video of mine is the best? Where I basically just said, like, screw all the other questions. If you had to choose any of my videos, which one is the best? And I'll just say all of the ones that you all said. First, there was 1 person that said the Upton Sinclair election video. Okay, that one was pretty good. Not gonna lie. There was the one where I was, oh, this is interesting. The podcast. I thought this was the one where I talked about the pink tide, like, as a video. No, they picked the podcast where I ranked the pink tide people. Of all the podcasts, that's the one that gets included in the best. 1 person said the best of series, which is especially marriage. It's like, I guess they mean the ranking videos where I go, like, the best senators or best, like, representatives or whatever. You know, I guess that's generally fine. 1 person chose the Socialist Labor Party video. Alright. 2 people independently chose the 10-party J.J. McAuliffe response. And 2 people chose the Communist Party episode. Which means 2 tied. And we all know what that means. Alright, here we go. Here's the wheel again. Well, I'm just gonna just synchronizing it, just making sure that it's synchronized. Okay. Final one. I did a roulette one. Alright. Here we go. Winner, CPUSA or 10-party series. Who wins best video of the year of the EPU? 10-party USA, apparently. Alright, I guess that one is considered the best according to the fans. I guess this is Electoral College rules. So yeah, that is the EPU Awards of 2023. Will I be doing any more? Probably not. And due to the lackluster response to the poll, there's a good chance that the freaking leftist video that I wanted to do is probably not going to happen because I can't guarantee that people will actually participate in the polls. But yeah, with that, surprisingly, this is the final podcast of the month, and I got some pretty big podcasts coming out next month, because those are the 4 final podcasts of the year, and I got some good videos coming out that year as well. Hopefully, I will be able to make it to the final month to actually do all the hard work that I've been building up to that entire year. Anyways, thanks for watching this video. Be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, and click the bell to notify when a future video of mine comes out. And if you're interested in more content from me, you can go to my website, follow me on Twitter, join my Discord, or consider supporting me on Patreon.